What is up, YouTube? So, the progressive voice, Sahil Habibi, can no longer call himself progressive. Why? This time, he praised Anna Kasparian and Kyle Kulinski. Now, here's the issue with this. Anna Kasparian interviewed Madeleine Albright at the München Securities Conference, which is a NATO-funded conference in München, Germany. It's blatantly imperialist. It was attended by Mike Pence, spews anti-Iran propaganda. It was attended by Fattah Abdel-Sisi, the dictator of Egypt, who was put in place by Barack Obama and his cronies after Arab Spring, which was a CIA operation. It was attended by Nancy Pelosi, who's a Zionist war criminal. Ivanka Trump, another Zionist war criminal. Jared Kushner, yet another Zionist war criminal and someone who is good friends with Netanyahu. And has connections in Likud, which is a Zionist terror organization. And it was also attended by Tawakkol Karaman, who is a Yemeni imperialist propagandist who helped fuel Arab Spring. UK Defense Minister Gavin Williamson also attended, as well as French Defense Minister Florence Parly also attended. Anna Kasparian seems like she doesn't have any moral compass on her because she's an atheist and therefore has no moral drive to be a better person. You know what I'm saying? And then Anna Kasparian also used to teach with my cousin at Cal State Northridge. I believe she taught journalism. My cousin teaches political science. Whole nother story for a different time, but also very revealing about Anna Kasparian's right-wing tendencies is that her dad was a Republican legislator from California and a very right-wing one at that. Anna Kasparian lashes out at Jimmy Dore for hashtag force the vote. She's a liberal two-state Zionist. She's a liberal imperialist. She votes for Democrats. And just in general, a very evil person. I mean, the fact that she praised Madeleine Albright, gave her a softball interview, and said it was an honor to interview her just reveals everything you need to know about Anna Kasparian. Now, here's the issue with Kyle Kulinski. Kyle Kulinski is a liberal Zionist. No doubt about it. He supported liberal Zionist Bernie Sanders. He calls the Nakba a quote-unquote conflict. He smears Palestinian resistance fighters. He smears Hamas as militant and right-wing. He makes excuses for Zionist entity propaganda about Hamas. He says settlers are understandably upset about left-wing Palestinian resistance groups like Hamas. And he says they quote-unquote rightly call Palestinian resistance a quote-unquote act of aggression. Of course, he is wrong because Palestinians have a right to defend themselves and they have a right to extradite settlers who are illegally occupying their land. And Hamas is a left-wing, anti-occupation, pro-Palestinian resistance group that will liberate Palestine, inshallah. Kyle Kulinski thinks the Zionist entity should use special forces against Hamas and Palestine and do investigations instead of just maybe vacating the entire region and going back to their countries of origin. You know, just a thought, maybe they should do that. Kyle Kulinski likes to spread propaganda about Hamas. He exposes extraditing settlers. He doesn't want to talk about whether Palestine is justified in self-defense. He refuses to debunk propaganda about Hamas using human shields when we know that propaganda is categorically false, and it's the Zionist entity using human shields. He equates Hamas to the IOF, which is, again, more slander, also categorically false. He smears Palestinian resistance fighters as extremists, which is, again, categorically false. He doesn't think giving land back to Palestinians is practical. So he opposes extraditing settlers, so that means he's a liberal Zionist. And he opposes abolishing the Zionist entity. So he, again, is a liberal Zionist. And he calls Zionist settlers who want 1967 borders, quote unquote, reasonable. Now, let me tell you this. There is no such thing as a reasonable settler. In no way, shape, or form is there such thing as a reasonable settler. They are there illegally. They must go back to their countries of origin. They do not belong in Palestine. It is not for Kyle Kulinski as a non-Palestinian to tell Palestinians what to do on their own land, okay? Again, I'm part Palestinian. My great-great-grandfather was from Palestine. So, you know, it's none of Kyle's business to tell Palestinians how to liberate our own land, okay? So, he also calls for a two-state solution with the UN buffer zone, further playing into Zionist tropes and further repeating Zionist propaganda. And he calls Palestinian activists extremists because they want Palestine free from the river to the sea, therefore cementing himself furthermore as a Zionist. And he thinks that moderates will prevail. Well, in this case, moderates are compromisers. Moderates are Zionists. Moderates support genocide and war crimes. And a two-state solution will further perpetuate the status quo. That's what you have to remember. And a one-state solution will also further perpetuate the status quo. So this is why Kyle Kulinski on Palestine is categorically wrong. And what he's saying is categorically false and slanderous. And this comes from a 2014 video on Palestine. Says called Solving the Conflict. It's not a conflict. It's genocide. It's imperialism. And there is no, it's not like a jigsaw puzzle. You know what I'm saying? Oh, there's a clean solution, whatever. No, this solution calls Palestine to be completely liberated, Zionist settlers to be extradited to their countries of origins, and prosecuted for war crimes. Okay, that is the only way Palestine will become free, is if Palestine is liberated from river to sea, Zionist settlers are extradited to their countries of origin and prosecuted for war crimes. Every single one of them. And then he praises liberal Zionist clown Peter Baynart, who opposes extraditing settlers for the most mild, milquetoast criticism of the deal of the century. And he's also called Palestinian resistance activists, quote unquote, idiots for wanting our country fully liberated. So if you want your country fully liberated, Kyle Kulinski will smear you as an extremist. Kyle Kulinski will smear you as an idiot. Kyle Kulinski is a Democrat and a liberal for a reason. Kyle Kulinski is what we call a crypto-Zionist, a crypto-imperialist. Someone who pretends to support Palestine, but then will sell out Palestinians to Zionist candidates like Bernie Sanders, repeat Zionist talking points, and believes in Zionist propaganda. Okay, so that's who Kyle Kulinski is in a nutshell. And Kyle Kulinski changed his tune on Bernie's foreign policy and Bernie's stance toward Palestine in 2019, despite Bernie's Zionist record of being a settler and taking money from J Street. And Bernie was funded by J Street and was featured on Secular Talk in a video clip from the J Street conference. Kyle Kulinski did not call out Bernie for even speaking at J Street, which was a Zionist platform. Okay, so Kyle Kulinski, much like Anna Kasparian, is a dishonest, grifting, liberal Zionist clown, okay? And an imperialist clown. And for Sahil Habibi to call him, to act like they're good and praise them and act like they're honest journalists, come on now, that's just dishonest. And here's our thesis statement. So Sahil Habibi barely covers foreign policy. Again, smears Jimmy Dore constantly. And this is celebrity worship culture. And this is an issue I have with Generation Z. And now we all know Sahil Habibi from the so-called Progressive Voice is part of Generation Z. Okay, just like atheism's a problem with millennials, and atheism is corrupting millennials of all their moral values. Celebrity worship is corrupting Generation Z of all their moral values. Because you put people like AOC and Kyle Kulinski and Anna Kasparian on a pedestal. You put them and elevate them above the rest of everybody else. And then when they do war crimes, they justify war crimes, they justify genocide, they justify illegal occupation, they justify massive human rights violations in a sneaky backdoor way. Or they normalize war criminals and give them softball interviews and say it's an honor to interview them. What are you doing? You're becoming part of the problem. Because why? You're praising these people with atrocious beliefs that are normalizing war criminals, that are normalizing genocide, that are normalizing imperialism, that are normalizing Zionism. You become part of the problem. Sahil Habibi is part of the problem. He is one of the diaspora sellouts that I detailed in one of my previous videos, the kind that votes for Bernie Sanders. And he acts like Bernie Sanders is a benchmark of being progressive. And he thinks people that are ultra-left or that are socialist or communist are not progressive. So that's Sahil Habibi from the fake progressive voice for you guys. And just like atheism is a problem with millennials and a problem with Generation Z, we all know that celebrity worship is the biggest problem with Generation Z. Putting celebrities that normalize war criminals and that spit imperialist Zionist talking points promoting genocide on pedestals. That's the problem with Generation Z. Sahil Habibi has lost all credibility as a progressive. And even from just one Kyle Kulinski video, we can see, and even just from one of Anna Kasparian's actions, we can see Anna Kasparian and Kyle Kulinski have lost all their credibility as journalists and do not deserve to be put up on pedestals like that. Kyle Kulinski, for him to be claiming that he's a progressive, but then go to repeat Zionist propaganda talking points, is ridiculous. It's absurd. Kyle Kulinski cannot call himself a progressive. Anna Kasparian cannot call herself a progressive. And Sahil Habibi, he cannot call himself a progressive. They are right-wingers. They are conservatives. There is no left in America, and this is a perfect example of why there is no left in America. These people that call themselves leftists, that call themselves progressive lefties, are massively conservative when it comes to foreign policy and will smear legitimate Palestinian resistance activists as extremists or as idiots because they don't want liberation for Palestine, because they only want quote unquote justice. And they won't even, they just will repeat Zionist talking points and won't even tell you what the real issue is. They won't even tell you who is really at fault. This is the problem with moderates. Sahil Habibi, he's no moderate, he's a conservative. Anna Kasparian, she's no moderate, she's a conservative. Kyle Kulinski's a conservative too. In fact, he's a social democrat. So if you're a social democrat, by default, you're conservative. In any other country, the mainstream media would not be painting these people as left. In any other country, these people would be painted as conservatives. So that's why it's infuriating to see all these Bernie bot social democrats painting Sahil Habibi, Kyle Kulinski, and Anna Kasparian as leftists. It's absurd. It's to quote the great Didier Drogba, who I am no fan of in any sort of way because he played for Chelsea. To quote Didier Drogba, it's a disgrace. It's a bleeping disgrace, right? So the fact that Sahil Habibi, the fake progressive voice, the faux-gressive voice, is promoting Kyle Kulinski and Anna Kasparian is disgusting. It literally disgusts me. Again, we see that atheism is the problem with millennials. Celebrity worship is the problem with Generation Z. This is the problem. Generation Z cannot think critically. They have no critical thinking skills. They see these celebrities like Cardi B, AOC, Anna Kasparian, Kyle Kulinski, LeBron James, and they put them on a pedestal without thinking critically about what they're saying and how that affects the international community. Whether those comments they're saying and the politicians they're supporting support war crimes and support genocide, or do they support liberation and anti-imperialist movements? They don't ever think about this. And it's so perplexing, and it's a disgrace. It's so disgraceful that they've been just brainwashed by the media into this culture of celebrity worship. Just like millennials have been brainwashed in this culture of atheism and taking bad substances and all this kind of stuff. It's a disgrace, man. It's a disgrace. Progressive Voice needs to wake up because he can't call himself a progressive anymore. He has no credibility, just like Anna Kasparian has no credibility, just like Kyle Kulinski has no credibility. Progressive Voice has no credibility, and he can no longer call himself a progressive. He is a disgrace to progressives everywhere. And he is a fraud. So that's all for today. I might have another video coming out later. Yeah, that's all for today. Peace.